Welcome back to our 3-day financial workshop. We have heard from a lot of awesome people and gotten great content so that we can go and put towards our business. So we are in our 6th session today, and we're going to hear about creating a vision for that money, right? So we learn how to get it, we learn how to see it, we learn how to track it, right? And learn how to grow it. Now we're going to learn how to see it even more by creating a vision for it, and to see what we're going to do with our money. So before we get into that, we want to make sure that if you are watching us now, definitely put your questions in the comment section. You're going to want to ask questions, I guarantee you. So make sure you put your questions in the comment section. If you're watching the replay, put your questions in then too. We're constantly watching our page so that no question will be unanswered, right? So we are going to now hear from Ramona Hallmon of RamonaVation. She is a personal and business consultant. So let me bring her up, and we're going to hear directly from her with her awesome presentation.
Well, thank you, Kimyata. So everyone, yes, we are going to hop right into the presentation. I want to give a little bit of framework as I was brought in and looking at my area of expertise. And so when I'm talking about this subject here of creating a vision for your money, I really had to pull on all these different buckets that I, can look into. And so coming from a space where I have worked with Fortune 500 companies that have made income, like in their sales, daily sales, they will be making over $100,000 in sales in a day, to being able to understand what those organizations do to be successful, million-dollar corporations. And then also having the experience and working with and also being a business owner in this space, as well as understanding nonprofits. So knowing from million-dollar businesses to businesses that may be like, look, organizations that may be like, look, I have a dime and a nickel and I'm rubbing these two bad boys together and praying and trying to make $1 out of it. So no matter what span or side of business you're on, and just starting, trying to get those coins together to say, okay, I'm going to be successful in this business, to making millions of dollars, no matter where you are on either end of the spectrum or anywhere in between, in order to be successful, you have to create a vision for your money. Next slide, please. So when we're talking about vision, any vision, like for your money, for yourself, we love to hear that term vision. And of course, I have a definition that's up on the screen here. But when I think about vision at its core, I think about is actually he was a salesperson. He's an author, Zig Ziglar. Some of you may be like, okay, who is Zig Ziglar? He used to really talk about being successful in vision. And there is a quote that goes out there. And what is said is, when you have a target. So you think about a target, if you played darts, or if you have done axe throwing. Yes, axe throwing is a thing. There's a target that you have to hit. And so he talks about this space of people saying, you know what, how can you hit a target you cannot see? And then he takes it to the next level and say, how can people hit a target they do not have? So a lot of times when we think about vision, we're just like, I just have my idea and I don't need to put it down. I know what I want. But it is really about taking this look inside and being creative, and then saying, I want to be able to put it down so that whoever sees it, even myself, it can remind me of where I'm going. And so on the screen here, I love this definition. It talks about the ability to think about and plan the future. You're thinking about it, you're planning it. But what's so key is the two words that come after this: with imagination and wisdom. So when we're looking at our vision for our money, we have to be pliable enough and in this space to say, let me be creative and imagine, what do I want to see when it comes to my business, when it comes to my business finances? And then as I have been in this creative, in this imagining space, now what is this wisdom I can put to it so that I can write this plan out? And so let's go to the next slide. So when we're talking about our business finances and being able to have a vision for our money and hitting that target, hitting that bullseye, to have this vision, I'm going to talk about 4 points. And so these 4 points you see is really that hindsight, foresight, oversight, and insight. All of these sights help us in our vision. So hindsight, just briefly, is we say hindsight is 2020. What that means is if it has already happened, I pretty much can look at it and say, I know what happened before. I don't want this to happen again. Or this happened before. This was good. We can do this again. So having that hindsight is good for vision. All of these components are swirling around in us, and it's going to really push out our vision. Foresight. So if hindsight is behind us, we have to be able to see what's coming. And I know we want to grab that magic 8-ball, shake it up and like, what does my future look like? But that foresight is really that being able to put systems and things in place when it comes to your finances to say, where am I going? What is my business going to be doing? How am I going to be financially solid? We're looking forward. Oversight. Now, when we look at the word oversight, if you are, I may be dating myself at this, aging myself out here. Back in school, when I was in elementary, I ain't gonna tell y'all the year. When it came to looking up words, we had to go to the dictionary. Yes, I did not say go online and look. We go to the dictionary. Open up the dictionary to find the word, and then you'll find the word. And the first word, you'll be able to see really what that meaning is about. Then you can see like A, B, and you can see the different definitions. When we look up oversight, yes, you can Google it. When we look up that definition, oversight, we typically looked at this and how it's defined as something that I overstepped or something I missed. I missed it. It was an oversight. But I want to go to definition 2. When we look at oversight, oversight is that vision of being able to come to a high level overview to oversee what is going on. And I like to equate it to an eagle. An eagle, we know, flies up high, and then knowing that an eagle, when it's flying up, it can zoom into something like 2 miles away. And so that oversight in vision is being able to take a look at our business from a high level overview, coming up out of the day-to-day, coming up out of the task and saying, what does my business look like? And then the last one is going to be that insight. And insight is really taking the connection of the hindsight, foresight, oversight, and saying, okay, what can I do strategically in my business that is going to be able to impact it? And so that insight comes from being able to mix these all up. So we're going to touch on a couple of these, and then we're going to be ready for some Q&A. So next slide, please. So we starting with hindsight. And remember, I defined that hindsight is what has happened, what was already, what has happened. And so when we're looking at this vision for our money, I think about it. And again, I had started out talking about, I've worked in corporate America and I've been in spaces, $1 million businesses, helping also on the other end in nonprofit and building up my own business. No matter what industry you're in, no matter how much money you're making, if you utilize this hindsight component, it's going to be great. And so looking at 3 components I want to pull out. Correction of errors. So correction of errors are so key when we're looking at what has happened. Correction of errors, and yes, you can find, if you Google it, you can Google correction of error forms, but they're quite simple to pull together. Correction of errors is if you have done an event. So say you are a nonprofit and you have done an event. And so in your event, you had different people, you had food, you had activities, you had these different things that happen for this massive or this grand event. When the event is over, and so you're about a week 2 weeks. You want to do it close enough within that month's time frame at least, because everything is still fresh. Now you're marking down what worked, what didn't work, what was good, what was not good. Do we need more people? If you have your business and you're like, okay, my individual business and I am a restaurant and I wanted to do something for what's today, Valentine's Day. And you do it and then you come back to it. This didn't work. I didn't have the booking system set up right. This fell short. So those correction of errors are key to help us when we're thinking about our finances. We want to make sure that we are looking back on those things that could have tripped us up, but also what was good and what was successful that we can press in more for the next time we do that event or the next time we do this particular thing in our business. Reporting is key. Reporting is key in hindsight. And so you're thinking about maybe using reportings like your profit and loss statement. Your data is key. Data is absolutely key. Y'all, if y'all understood how important data was, tech companies use it. Every company is all about data, what information I can pull. And so in your business, having systems set up to be able to capture the numbers, the people, the different things. So being able to look at those reportings help as well. And comparables. I'll briefly talk about comparables. And this is where in businesses where you would look at, I've seen it of where I may compare two products. So I may be selling a lotion and I may be selling a body butter, but I'm looking at how this body butter is selling more than the lotion, or I may have two different types of lotion and I'm comparing those sales. Being able to look at what is moving, what is not, and being able to put them side by side. And so hindsight is very key. Next slide, please. The other part that we want to talk about is foresight. So foresight in this vision for your money. So if we've looked at what has happened, how do we look towards the future? And so in this financial series, yes, we have heard from some great presenters talking about different programs we can use, different just different platforms we can use, just different things that we can use when it comes to our business. And having a budget is absolutely key. And so that budget, we are looking at that estimated income, those estimated expenses, and we're able to look and say, okay, in the future, this is what we're going to be kind of gauging what we want to do. So here is my budget is written out. I have thought about it. I have had the team come together. We have really laid out this budget. The next part of foresight is forecasting. Now, forecasting is really the encompassing of foresight. It is looking into the future of saying, okay, what am I going to do? What, just really how are my sales going to be? How many customers are going to be coming through? Really kind of casting that net and looking to the future, kind of like the weather people do. They'll go out and they'll say, okay, this week we're going to have some high sunshine, all those different things. It's different factors that go into forecasting. And so understanding that and talking with a coach, talking with someone who has worked with and in this space of forecasting to give you some feedback. Yes, we can always, there's so much information out there on Google. Yes, you can YouTube a lot of things, but that forecasting can really help of really looking forward and finding things that can help you, such as social media, such as publications, all these different components that can help you with forecasting. And as business owners, sometimes we look at budget and forecasting as the same thing, but they're not. Really, they work hand in hand. And what I like about it is in financial forecasting, when you are really looking at your finances in that forecasting atmosphere, it is really the reporting to make sure that what I said in the budget is actually happening. If I know what I have this reporting that's making sure I'm hitting those goals, that is what forecasting does. It gives us this space to hold up the lens to say, am I hitting my budget? Also, margin. In this space of foresight, margins are so Okay. Margins, to really look at your margins. Sometimes I think about it. Y'all know, sometimes y'all probably don't do this. It's just probably sometimes as like nonprofits or different things. We go and we buy a case of soda and we're going to sell this case of soda. We're going to sell each individual one for, hey, let me just put a number on it. We're going to sell it for $1. Really, when we're looking at margin, it's going to be looking at this space of the difference between that revenue and that cost, but being strategic with it, of saying like, look, I have bought this bottle of water for X amount of dollars. This is what I'm going to sell it for. That is high level. Understanding with foresight in your margin is so many components. That cost of good is so many pieces that go within your margin, to understand how much did it cost me to get this bottle of water. And so we have to be strategic in our foresight. And this really helps us, again, with vision, because we're talking about a vision for your money. And then a calendar. You're probably like, why in the world does she have calendar up here? Looking into the future, we know every holiday. So today, as we are recording live, it is Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day comes on the same time every single year, the same date. Christmas is the same day, December 25th. We know it. We know these holidays. We know the different events that come up. So the calendar, understanding holidays, understanding what is going on in your community, understanding school starts, then the different things that impact your business. Foresight, sometimes people look at it as hard because they're, again, thinking about that magic 8 ball, and it's like, how can I figure out how to look into the future for my business? But having these systems in place helps us to say, okay, if I'm looking at my budget, if I have systems in place to make sure that I'm hitting my budget and understand my margins and understanding what is going on in my environment. And as business owners, we have that umption, that like, okay, I also can see that this is going to be good. We have that inclination. We have the reason why we got into business of like, I feel that this can work. All of that beauty comes together to help us with our foresight. And having a great foresight, again, they're all working together to help us to really lay out a vision. Next slide, please. The next part is oversight. And remember, I defined it as that eagle's eye view, this high level view. And so I'm just going to call out a few, because when you are in eagle eye mode, oh, let me tell you, when you're looking over your business, you'll constantly be seeing things that you are blind to when we're working in our business instead of on our business. And so, yes, as solopreneurs, and as some of us we are our only employee, we run it, we do everything. Some of us may be a family that is doing it, so it may be 2 or 3, but then really looking at, how do I get up out of the doing and seeing what the business can really accomplish. And so we have to take a breath. I'm gonna pause right there. We have to take a breath. And what I mean by take a breath is to take time, even if you have to schedule it. Yes, business owners, we do it because we constantly go, we got the calls, we got to get the appointments, we have to do this piece. But if we miss the oversight part, it will trip us up, because we will end up spending so much more time on the other end of it if we would have just planned and said, let me look at my business. So just quickly here, when we're looking at that oversight component, when we look at profit, growing our profit, okay, look, we are in the business and we're making sales and we're moving along and we're making that money, but is that money profit? Like, what do you mean? If I'm selling, I'm good. We can be selling a lot, but if there is so many other things that is coming out, we got to pay the bills, we got to pay the insurances, we got to be able to pay taxes, we got to be able to get product. So are we profitable? And the way to do that is to really understand in this space of what success looks like. See, again, the vision part. If we as business owners are not taking that step back to really have a vision for our finances, we'll miss it every time. What does success look like? And being able to look at profit I like to say you can look over it from yesterday to today. You can look at it weekly, your profit and how you're growing. You can look at it monthly. You can look at it year over year. Being able to compare what is really profitable. Am I making more sales? February, we're in February, I believe, what is it, second week of February. What was I doing last year? If I'm a few years into my business, what was I doing last year? How did I do in sales? If I'm starting, then I may have to look at looking at yesterday or last week over this week, but making sure that we are looking at profit and having a strategic plan and understanding of what is profitable for my business. We also want to maximize efficiencies. And so this part is so key about, so you have a restaurant and then you have people come in and then it's like a seat yourself restaurant. So I come into the restaurant, or you come in, you visit Ramona's restaurant, and I just say, yeah, just come in and sit down and we'll get to you. But I don't have any systems in place. You could be sitting there for like 30 minutes and no one even brought you a menu, or no one came and brought you any water. If I just say, yeah, just sit down, and I don't have systems in place to be able to capture when you come in, what space you're in, so that it's some way to time it and track it. So your flow of service, your transactions, is it efficient for me to shop with you? I mean, do I have to write a check like to get to you? What system do you have? Okay, is Cash App? Well, what if I don't have a Cash App? Like making sure in your business, and your demographics. That's a whole nother component. Knowing your demographics, knowing what your people need. Is it easy to shop with you? Inventory. Are you holding on to product that needs to be let go of? Meaning I was working in a place, and we had systems in place to talk about the inventory. And if you are a small business owner and you're like, okay, I got this inventory, inventory, you didn't pay for that. A lot of times you didn't pay for that, and now it's sitting. And if you don't understand how fast things are flowing, or you don't have some type of system in place to see how speedily things are moving along, you can end up just sitting on a lot of inventory. And sometimes in our businesses, we may sell national brands. And so sometimes if you have national brand things, they packaging can have been changed and you sitting here with old packaging. So understanding and putting systems in place when it comes to your inventory, again, you have to come up out of working in the business to have this high level overview. And engagement, your customer engagement. Do they like shopping with you? Do they like patroning your business? What is going on with your customers? How is that flow? How do they give feedback? Being able to look and say, well, what systems can I put in place? I want to know if my customers want me to offer different services, or what services that they really like. And I want their feedback, but I don't want them to have to go and then I send them an email and they're not responding. So you may be able to, I have my iPad in my hand. We can set up, Google. Again, we always say we can do everything on Google. Yeah, we can create surveys, we can create things on there, and you can actually have your iPad, your tablet, a device where people can actually just say, you know what, let them go ahead and put their feedback in and say, I like this services, or this is the feedback that I want to give to you. It's ways to capture. Again, I said data is important. Data is money. To be able to understand my customers. Again, a lot of times we will miss that because we're not having that high level overview, that oversight. And you can do the same with your employees. You have employees, are they being efficient? If you have a space and they're wasteful, or they're not showing up in time, a lot of things you won't be able to see if you are just constantly working within your business. Next slide, please. We're going to talk about the last component here, and that's insight. Insight, I love insight. And the reason why I love insight is over the years, 25 plus years. I know I look like I just turned 21, right? Over the 25 plus years of being in industry, understanding business, and seeing in this space of being successful and making money and being able to do things with a small amount of money. Insight is so key. And this insight part is hard for people if they are just jumping off and trying to do something and really not thinking. Because insight, I have this definition that I really like to bring out in insight, is the capacity to gain an accurate and deep understanding. So now I'm able to take hindsight and foresight, and I'm able to look at this space and saying, okay, I have oversight. Now, how can I strategically use this to really impact my business? Insight. And we're about to talk about this, and then I'm gonna be ready for some questions soon. So insight, I'm going to jump and call it right now. You need to be able to do a business financial assessment. And what that is like going to the doctor for your finances. During the Super Bowl, Mary J. Blige did a commercial, and she's like working out and she's doing all these different things, and it was all about her health. And it's like being able to take care of yourself. The things that we do to take care of ourselves, we also have to do it financially. Next slide, please. So when we're looking at this insight and we're looking at this space of making sure our finances are together, it is in this assessment, we want to make sure that we are understanding what this is. When you are looking at insight, it is an analysis of your key performance indicators. Let me pause right there. A lot of people may say that this is a corporate term. It is a business term. And when we look at this, I like to use this because what it is a quantifiable measure. What do you mean by that, Ramona? I mean, in my business finances, there are certain things that's important for my business. I need to continually grow my customers. I need to continually make sure my inventory is turning at the right space. So those KPIs is really the system that is in place to make sure that I am quantifying what success looked like. Not just saying I want a bunch of new customers, but saying I need to have 120 customers added to my online shopping by the end of the year. That KPI will say, then you need to have 10 people a month, and you'll begin to break down what that looks like. And you're doing this because it gives you the current reality, the opportunity, and the gaps. And so you're able to understand that. And why you want to do that? Because it's really looking at this space of your performance, your sustainability, and your growth. And you do that by looking at different financial statements, like your profit and loss, your balance sheet, your cash flow. You're looking at these. Next slide, please. And adding to that, you can look at your finances and a SWOT assessment. I had to put this in here. I was battling going back and forth to talk about it, but it's something that corporations use, and it's something that is so simple and so easy. We as business owners can use as well. My vision and what I love to do is to be able to take things that I have gained in the corporate world and being able to present it in a space of where business owners can utilize this in a small business. And so overall, it's basically, you can take out a sheet of paper, you can pull out your phone and you can type this, but all you're doing is looking at where you are strong. The S, strengths. What are your strengths financially? What are the strengths in your business? Being able to write that out. If you fry chicken well, then that's a strength. I can fry my chicken. I can, I sell my flowers. I do this hair. Pull your strengths out and be honest. This is where you get to pat yourself on the back. But just as you are honest with your strengths, make sure it comes to the weaknesses. What? If it's things that you are not good at, put them down. If this is a weak spot, you will write down, okay, I'm trying to increase my customer count, but I do not have systems, and I need to be stronger in system space. So you can find your weak points and you list those. Opportunities. A lot of times people look at the old opportunities and like, well, opportunity is the same as weakness. No, an opportunity can be, I'm doing hair, but every time I get ready to do someone's hair, they keep complimenting me on this lotion I'm putting on, this body butter. I don't know what's with me and lotion and body butter. I obviously need some, but this part of every time they're like, that smells so good. That smells so good. And so, but it's something that I just make, and I just make it for me. So here's an opportunity. If people are coming in there loving this, then maybe this is an opportunity for me to make something small enough to sell and say, well, yeah, for $2, you can buy this body, butter. So opportunities, being able to list that. And a point that I will put in opportunities It's finding people that's in your circle, around your circle, in your new circle that can help you, because your customers and people around you will tell you what are some opportunities and threats. That's the last part here. What's a threat to your business? Meaning not like somebody just coming and looking at your window, not that type of threat, but if there's competition, if there's a road closure, if the weather is changing, the different threats that could be happening, you have to be able to write those down to be able to assess them. Next slide. And we are ending with this part here. When it comes to a vision for your finances, these 4 components: hindsight, what has happened; foresight, what's going to happen in the future; oversight, what is going on with my eagle eye view self, right? I can see this. And then when it comes to insight, being able to combine all of the points that we've been talking about and saying, I have a deep understanding in this insight space on how to be better with my finances. And that gives me what? The vision for my money. Okay, so last slide, I think, is really it. That I can know that we have some Q&A. I went through that maybe pretty fast, but you can always see it on the replay. But I'm excited, and I love talking about vision in general, but definitely vision about your money. Hello, Kimyata.
Hello, Ramona.
He's like, Liz.
Thank you so much for that presentation. It was entertaining as well as informational. I loved it all. We definitely got some comments on this session here. Just reiterating, a Facebook user with imagination and wisdom, right? So you were talking about the vision and hindsight, insight, foresight, oversight. All of that is going to make sure that your money is growing and you're managing it properly and you're knowing what's happening in your business. So that is awesome. So we do have some questions for you.
Okay.
And, we definitely want to let everyone know that as you're watching us, please put your questions in the comment section, and we can definitely ask Ramona as she's still here with us. And even if you're going to watch the replay, definitely be sure to post your questions then. So you were speaking about seeing your money, right? And then seeing it and then writing it down. What is like the biggest key or important part as to why you should write it down? Meaning, like, if I can see my vision in my head, what is the difference in me putting it down on paper?
So that is a great question. And not to go so preachery on you, but it's really this component of this space of understanding. When you write something down, now it comes to life, not only for you, but for anyone that's connected to your vision. So if anyone that is supposed to help you or anyone that you are collaborating with, a lot of times we feel like you have to keep saying it over and over again. Yes, you're like, okay, I'm explaining it over and over again. But when you write it down, anyone that's connected to you, connected to your vision, in collaboration, they can read it. It's simplified. I can run with it. But then it's also for yourself, because I know I have, in this space. And when I had that definition, I had that imagination part, right? Because it's some things that you're just dreaming up and it's just in your head, and it can keep evolving. It can keep changing. And it's good that it evolves. But a lot of times, if you just keep it in your head, you can end up running left, right, up, down, because you are still trying to create something, and you can end up, I think the term is analysis by paralysis. Mm-hmm. And so now if you don't have it written down, you can end up spinning your wheels. So writing it down is so key.
I know, like for me, I'm not sure which slide, but you also had a calendar on there. So like for me, writing down my vision or plan and then putting it on a calendar helps me to be on time with it. And like, it's like I have a deadline to get to. And so, because sometimes I can forget, or I can just plainly take my time and procrastinate. But if I see it down, it helps me to actively get it done. So that's awesome. Because
And I like that you said that, Kim. I like that you said that, Kimyata, because when people think, and it may be where we think sometimes that vision means I have to get it out and I have to write it on just this one sheet of paper, and then I have to tape it to the wall. But it literally can be calendar format. I have my vision, absolutely being able to say, here are those things that I need to complete to be able to capture it. So your vision is written out. It can be as creative as you want it to be. It's just get it down so that you can stay on point with it too.
So I'm going to call your points the 4 sites, right? I'm going to say 4 sites. So in these 4 sites, can a new business or a business that hasn't started use these 4 sites, or is it just for a business that's actively in business or an old business?
That is a great question. This here can be used by anyone at any point in business. I'm thinking about it. I am starting. I myself in doing a relaunch and doing things and starting up. It is a great point to be able to use these, because it's like, okay, some things may be a little bit harder for you to do by yourself. If you're starting. So if I'm trying to have hindsight, this is where I need to network and talk to business owners or people that's in this same space, or I'm looking up. But I really love to talk to people, because you can see a statement, but it can be so much in a statement. But being able to, yes, use all 4 of these sites, but I may not be able to only pull it out of myself. There may be absolute wisdom that's there, but if I'm starting something anew, I would love to tap into others to be able to help me in those blind spots or in that space of opportunity.
Would you say that in any I'm gonna say project or goal, that a person have to do each 4 of those sites, or can they take like 2 of them or 3 of them or 1 of them, or should a person use each of those 4 sites to help mold or identify that goal or project?
So I'm going to give this answer like it depends. So it depends on where you are and what you are doing. And the reason I say it this way is, first is I may be in a space of where this is the key one I'm focused on. Maybe just focusing right now on hindsight because I'm trying to pull components out, or I may now just be focusing on oversight because I've been working in my business. And so say my season is the summer months. And then at the end of the summer months, here comes the fall. I now am coming to an oversight area of where I'm able to do a lot of the reflecting and doing things. Though it could be different seasons and you can be using different pieces. But what I have seen successful, again, the space and the territory that I've come out of in Fortune 500 companies, they use them all. So when I've sat in key business meetings and we're talking $1 million projects and we're talking all this money coming out on the table, all of these components are being used to push that industry, that business, that location further. So I know this may be just the weirdest way of answering it. You need all 4, because if I'm looking at my small business to be like a large organization, this is what I have seen year over year over year, using all of them. And I know being able to use them in seasons, you may be utilizing one or more than the others.
Mm-hmm. So in those seasons or project, would you want to use these 4 sites every year at least, or every 6 months? Or is it something that you just look at when you are starting a new project or a new business? Or
if we wait too long, you can miss. So remember in Foresight, I said correction of errors. So if you're doing correction of errors, if you wait to the end of the year to think about every project or every customer you saw, and now you're trying to reflect, I believe when we, one of the sessions was talking about QuickBooks, and it's like at the end of the year, you're trying to throw all your receipts and trying to think about everything you've done. it's like, it's so cumbersome. So looking at this space, this is where you would need to assess this, talking with a coach, talking with someone who can help you to gauge what is going to work in your life and in your schedule. Because a lot of people may be like, it's just me. Mm-hmm. So you may say, okay, it may be weekly, it may be monthly, it may be quarterly. We definitely need to be doing it every year, but it should be closer to you, because I would say, and this is where we have to look at it in our small business space, in corporate America, every day they are looking at money. Every day. This is what our goal is. This is where we were last year. Here's some of those things we have to put in place. It doesn't have to be a dictation. It doesn't have to be as thick as a dictionary of you doing something every day, even if it's just the pointers that you are at least having a high level overview daily, weekly, monthly, but it's going to be adjusted to you. But I would say you have to keep your eyes on the prize, especially when it comes to your money.
Mm-hmm. So thanks for expounding on the foresights on how often they should be used. We have another question that is specific to inventory. In a person's business, how often should they do their inventory? I guess whether it's like clothes or food or whatever, how often would you suggest people doing their inventory?
Okay. With that, it depends. No, it'd be like every question is that it depends. Because here's the thing, food, if you're doing fresh food, food doesn't last as long as a shirt, right? And so being able to look at, and then in food, so let's just go to food. If we have food, you have things that are perishable, then you have you have your canned goods, they can last a little bit longer. And so when you're looking at your inventory to find out what is best for you, if you're looking at weekly, you may be looking at, okay, I have to check my inventory levels, especially if you're in the food industry. If you are not checking your levels and you are ordering, you may be saying, okay, every week I order. So in my restaurant, I order once a week. In this restaurant, if I do not know my inventory, chances are I'm going to order a bunch of stuff that I don't need. So I have a high amount of spoilage, throwaways. So in the food space, you may be looking at it every week that you order. But again, it's systems in place. And if you work with different vendors and different people, there's ways to get it to where it's not like, oh my goodness, how do I do this? They can help you get set up. When it comes to clothing, you may be doing those once a month, knowing what you have on inventory, because clothing is seasonal. I don't want to be sitting on a bunch of tank tops and we're going into the winter in the Midwest. So what does that look like? So you may be saying, I may be doing it seasonally, I may be doing it quarterly. So again, I hate to say that it depends, but it truly looking at how you would gauge your business of how often you would do it.
I loved how you said earlier how big businesses, big corporations look at money every day, right? And they're constantly going through those foresights to identify what's going on in their project or time as they're talking about things. And definitely as a small business owner, one of our goals should be to grow and to be a big business one day. But if not, that's fine too. Definitely be content in your own personal goals. I guess my question is, could you walk us through this for a few? So let's say I am a new business and I want to have an online clothing store, right? Or no, I'm sorry, an online candle store. Like I make candles or I make things that are like candles inside that store. Walk me through like what are some of the things I should be thinking about when it comes to the hindsight, the foresight, the oversight, and the insight as a new business with the online candle store?
Okay, so hindsight, and I'm thinking, okay, for the candle business, when we look at hindsight, and you keep me on my sites now, hindsight, if I'm just starting, so I'm just starting, I haven't sold anything yet, or I'm just expanding like in this space. So if I'm just starting.
Well, yeah, I mean, so I mean, I would assume that I would have sold to my family and friends because I would have, say, oh, I can be a business. So I'm going to now start it online.
Okay, perfect. So that hindsight, as this owner, this hindsight can be looking at what has been done already. And so you have worked with your family members, you've done this thing, but now I'm able to go and look at what other people have done, because sometimes in industries we want to act like we are the breakthrougher of it, but it's so many things that people have done. Now, granted, our style, what we do, we are unique, but there's templates and different things to be able to say, okay, hindsight says that candles are always selling. People love candles, the seasonal part. So being able to connect with others that have done something similar, and especially online sales, even if it's not candles, hindsight can be someone that is selling shirts, selling whatever. So being able to do that connection. Let's see, foresight. Just something that we could do with foresight is really being able to look at the calendar, being able to look at, okay, if I'm looking at launching this and going online, what season am I coming into? Am I going, because I have to have the stock available? Like, am I doing something seasonal? Is it just, these are my scents? Is it gonna, wrapping's gonna change? So looking at a calendar date, looking at the components of what do I need to do to make sure that I'm set up for success in the future. And then starting and moving into the online platform, chances are, from me just talking to my dad and my mom and my sister and my brother and my cousins, online presence shifts you in a trajectory of where I have to think about it. I'm not just going to be selling one a week. I could be jumping up to 20 a week. And will I be able to hold that and be able to produce and get what I need to get? Then I'm looking at the oversight, is the part of, okay, looking at my business, what is this going to cost me? What is this? What are going to be some of the challenges? Again, that space of this analysis of looking at what is going on in the business. Is this going to take me away from another part? Am I the one creating the candles? So if I'm creating the candles, and then am I going to be the one taking care of the website? So when you come up higher, you're able to look and see, what is it, all these components that I have to be able to work with? Am I going to have to hire someone? What does that look like? Do I have to set up an IRA? Like, what am I doing in this capacity? And insight is wisdom. And so being able to take all of those pieces and being able to unpackage them in a strategic way. And if I'm starting, I cannot say this enough, be around people who can share, because insight is wisdom. And so being able to pull from those sources that can help you in that industry, people who have been successful, building a clientele, being able to keep track of customers, the databases, all of those, that insight part is that swirling of all of it, but keeping people around you that can help you with it. I know it's probably like the longest answer for it, but being able to look at it that way.
No, I love it, because definitely this way people can actually see it in action in their business and how they can actually put the information into place. So that's awesome. Thank you so much. You talked about a SWOT analysis. So I remember doing it when I did my business plan and I was trying to get funding at the very beginning. And that is a part of doing a business plan, right? At the beginning of the business. Is it needed to continue to do a SWOT? And then if so, how often should we do that SWOT analysis?
Okay, so I'm glad that you have brought it up about the beginning part of the business and like being in that business plan. And so the business plan itself is a living document. So sometimes we write a business plan and we sit it on the shelf and be like, I did that, I got the finance I need to do, and it goes on the shelf. But it should be a living document and evolving with you. And so even the components within it in a SWOT analysis, yes, that's an example. It's different types of analysis you can do. But I have used in the industries that I have been a part of, I'm like, all of them are using a simple SWOT analysis. And so looking at a SWOT analysis, you should at least be, now again, when we're talking about our finances, at least monthly, you can be doing it quarterly, because what you're doing is gauging where you are. So if I have written a SWOT analysis in my business plan, And here it is. Maybe I've been in business. I started out, wrote it about 5 years ago. Pull that SWOT analysis out and look at it and see, are your same strengths the strengths that you had 5 years ago? I'm assuming it's not. The weaknesses, things change. And so because we are in this season and in this time, things change so fast, I would at least say, start kind of looking at it monthly, write it down and maybe just kind of looking at that monthly space. And then you may look at it and be like, things are changing so fast. I may need to be looking at it weekly just because of where I am in my business. But then you may be like, okay, monthly is a little bit too much. I can look at it quarterly. So I think the sweet spot is to at least start it in a month to say, okay, let me write this down and see, is my business changing? Is the template I have, is it changing a lot? Or can I look at it quarterly and then being able to pull those parts out? Because strengths, we pat ourselves on the back. We know that. Those weaknesses, have we addressed them? The opportunities, have we really saw growth from it? Were they really opportunities in the first place? And then, of course, as we look at this space of threats, is that threat still a threat now? So you have to be able to assess that. But monthly is probably a good start.
Okay, well, thank you for breaking it down for us. And if you are watching us now live and on the replay, definitely reach out to Ramona Hallmon at RamonaVation.com. RamonaVation.com. She is a personal, nonprofit, and business consultant. So thank you so much for this information that you've given us. And those of you who are still with us, please join us at 2 p.m. today as we do our recap of our 3-day workshop. Thank you guys for joining us.